it's kind of, and it's sad in a way that today rookie initiation is kind of frowned upon. I mean,
they don't have that.
Yeah.
We didn't have it either. We never did any of that.
It's awesome. It is. It's awesome.
So you were carrying how many bags and from the bus to the field?
Yeah,
Give it to
it's
me.
not
I know
even
the
it's
stories.
not even that.
Oh.
It is. I mean, there is that part of
Right.
it, but so when you travel in the big leagues, and that's a whole different set of stories. But anyway, when you travel, you're going from one city to another. You're wearing a suit to the field that day. So we were. This is getting toward the end of 2000 season.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in the big leagues. I got there in late June. And so this is September now at this point. Season's kind of wrapping up. We're going from Cleveland to Minnesota. It's a travel day. And so you're dressed in this suit that, I've never had a nice suit in my life. Yeah. And I'm proud of this suit and I wear it to the field and I'm, hang it up in the locker and we go out and we play that last game there in Cleveland. Come back in and my suit's not in my locker.
Bet. Well, baby, you've been on my mind. I think about you all the time. Oh, I want to see your face.
Our guest today, Dr. Brandon is who?
Well, an honor to have Dr. Ryan Kohlmeier here from Emporia, Kansas.
Emporia, Kansas.
Emporia, Kansas. Thank you for coming, Ryan.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for asking me to come down.
Here's to sleeping around with Dr. Brandon and Matthew.
Yep. Cheers with our coffee.
That's right. So when you were booked, Brandon had contacted me and said, "Oh, you're going to like this guy." And you have a unique history that probably not a lot of dentists have. And I was a little shocked. If you Google, and how do you spell your last name? And was that hard to put on the back of a jersey?
They fit it on there.
They did.
It kind of has
Did
to
you get the
wrap. It's
half
got
of
a
it?
curve to it.
So he's got the curve.
Yeah.
So jersey meaning that this gentleman played professional baseball. So we're also going to be talking a little bit about your past. We got to talk about how you know this guy right here.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to talk about sleep medicine, sleep dentistry. And it's just an honor to have you come in. He drove all the way in. He stopped, made one stop, and out of all the places you could have stopped and stayed the night, where did you end up staying?
I did stay in Norman.
Boomer Sooner. So what a way to get started this morning. Honor to have you on our podcast. So thank you so much for making time. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So I met Ryan, I guess it's been a couple years ago now. And we started working together. And, I work with International Academy of Sleep. And we work with dentists around the country. And Dr. Kohlmeier came in. He was interested in learning about sleep. And I don't think he had done any sleep medicine at the time. Had you done any?
No, just a couple of cases that I'm sure we butchered.
Yeah.
That down in Orlando.
And met him and he joined the group. And that's kind of how we got to know each other. And as I got to talk to him and work with him more, learned a little bit more about him and just such a unique story. So you're from Kansas originally and you grew up there, born and raised.
Grew up there, still live there.
And you were a stud baseball player.
Sure.
Well, let's just start from there. So obviously you played sports in high school and that seemed to be a passion of yours, correct? Did you only play baseball?
No, little town. So you play everything in a little town.
That's right.
I was a football, basketball, baseball guy. I mean, just backyard, everything. So Cottonwood Falls, Kansas is where I grew up. And that's probably where we're always going to call home. I mean, we live in Emporia, Kansas right now. It's 20 minutes down the road.
Cottonwood Falls?
Cottonwood Falls.
Okay.
Yeah.
How big is Cottonwood Falls?
Population about 900 when I was there. It's dwindling.
Okay.
Wow. So your senior class was huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We were 10? 30. We actually were 30. We're a countywide high school. So you're drawing from everybody in the whole county.
Do you have enough kids at the school to even suit up and have a full football team?
We did. We were 11 man back in the day.
I was going to say, did you play 7 man? Okay.
No, well, it's 8 in Kansas. So my son is at the same high school right now that I went to, and it's 8 man football there now.
Oh wow!
But there are some schools I think that are getting ready to go 6. So it's getting
Wow.
in a hurry.
So you played offense and defense probably because there's only so many players. What position did you play for football?
I was a fullback on offense, linebacker on defense.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
And then you probably played in the band at halftime too, or something. Like
I stopped that at high school, but yeah,
You seen that? Kids
It's-
go out, they're like in
yes.
their football
You
pants
damn
still,
right.
and they're playing in the band.
Hey,
and they go
listen,
back.
I grew up in Oklahoma, Piedmont High School,
Yeah.
just a neighboring town of ours. I would go watch my buddy play, and then during halftime, he would play the tuba. In
Yeah,
his uniform.
yeah.
So you grow up there, you're playing sports. When did you know that you might be good in baseball?
About 12 or 13.
Okay.
Yeah, things started to feel a little different. You kind of watch other guys playing. You can tell that I'm throwing a little harder than the other guys are.
Right.
I'm hitting the ball a little farther. So yeah, at that point, started thinking maybe, I can do something with this. But up until then, it's kind of funny. You get asked that all the time, so when you were growing up, did you always want to play professional baseball? Did you want to play for the Royals?
Right.
I'm not even sure that I knew who the Royals were until,
Wow.
10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
You're just a dumb kid.
You're just playing sports.
That's right. Just playing in the backyard with your buddies, and then things just start
And
clicking.
it's fun to me because you're smiling, and I could tell like you're looking back, and that's when it was fun and pure. And we'll get to your other levels, but getting drafted is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal, my friend.
Yeah.
And so that had to just be, here you are from this small town, and I'm not making fun of you.
No, I love my town.
And you're probably the biggest thing. Let's see, you're a little younger than me, so 77. So you graduated
95.
95.
Mhm.
95. So getting drafted in 95 had to be a big thing, not only for you and your family, but for the town.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of weird, really. My junior year of high school, you would start seeing people in the stands.
Yeah.
And by stands, I mean the
Yeah.
one set of bleachers that's behind behind home plate,
Oh, yeah.
and a guy with a radar gun.
Jugs gun.
What's this guy doing there? So it was cool. And then, man, it's just thinking back on that too. It changes things so much when you spot that guy out of the corner of your eye, and you're a 16-year-old kid, and all of a sudden,
How did that change? Like, was it more pressure? Like, did you feel
pressure,
Yeah.
and you start trying to throw that thing
And then
harder,
you're hurt,
and things go worse, and you start hitting people even more often than I
That's
already
awesome.
am, and it's interesting just coming from a small town. I got drafted out of high school by the Rockies, but I only had 2 junior college offers to go and play baseball.
We're going to talk about that. Amazes me.
So yeah, it's the way that, at least back then, small town sports worked. There's not the exposure there is now.
And for those watching the podcast, the reason that's important is once you get drafted as a senior in high school, if you choose not to go, if you go Division I, if you go to a 4-year school, you can't get drafted again until your junior year. That's the one thing we have in common. He's a way better baseball player, but getting drafted out of high school and then going to junior college affords you to get drafted your freshman and sophomore year. So I want to be very clear. Your talent was immense, obviously, but you decided not to sign for a donut and a roadmap or whatever they offered you your senior year, and went to JUCO. How was that first year at junior college? Meaning 2 things. You're in this small high school. You're probably the big fish, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to this junior college. You're still very talented. You've already been drafted. How was that different?
It was a lot different. I mean, there were, 2,000, kids on campus.
Right.
I guess I would say I was still probably one of the better pitchers on the team, but that's really where I started to learn that, hey, I've got to actually pitch. I mean, up until then, it was just grab this thing and throw it as hard as you can.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was still essentially my approach, but my coaches and opposing hitters were kind of beating into me that, you got to be a little bit smarter with this. We got to.
How hard were you throwing back
location
then?
stuff?
High school.
When I came out of high school, I would touch 90 consistently, pitch at 88. When I was at Butler County Community College, El Dorado, Kansas, velocity increased about 6 miles an hour. I left there throwing about 94, pitching low 90s.
Yeah.
And so
in
the eyes of a scout, that makes a big difference.
I was praying when I was looking you up, because I did some research. I actually do some research for the show, that you went to Friends University of Central Kansas, just so I could say FUCK. But it's just, and you're from there. I mean, they're great hats. But Butler is a great school, guys. Not only is it good for baseball, it's a great junior college. And I think someone who went to junior college, I just love that atmosphere, because it gave me that next step where I didn't have to jump, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you got stronger.
Yeah.
Sounds like you learned how to pitch, right?
Yeah.
You probably knew how to. You said, "Hey, I could throw a curveball. Maybe a changeup would be
Wait.
good on this."
Yeah, you can
90s
spin
bulldog.
this thing the
Yeah,
other way a
what? It
little bit.
spins?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I grew so much there. I mean, we had amazing coaches there. Coach Fernelli, Coach Parker. They were, just good life coaches too. So I wasn't ready to jump into pro ball, and I can't even say I was ready after that next year.
And what a great
happened.
lesson. You know, I still remember Coach Dave Van Horn, who's at Arkansas now, Rob Childers, who was at A&M. He got let go. I'm sure he's going to get another job. But you're right. It's like the life lessons I learned. And even though I went to a larger high school than you go into that junior college, I was like, wait a second, this team's amazing. And even when I went D1, my junior college team could have beat my D1 team because everybody got drafted. Like they were all just, I learned like, oh my gosh, I'm not that good. I'm good in Yukon, Oklahoma, but man, coming up here. But it's that persistence. So why did you decide after this awesome opportunity to get to accept the draft after your freshman year?
A lot of it was money.
That's fair.
Yeah, it was. You know, you kind of have a number set in your mind that, hey, if they get close to this number, I really need to consider this. I enjoyed school. I loved my teammates. I loved Butler, but yeah, things were they were clicking.
Nice.
There was just I guess a lot of momentum going into that too. It just felt right at that point. Talked it through with my folks, talked it through with my coaches. Of course, they said, no, you need to stay. There's more that you can still got so much to learn. You can be a first round draft pick. But so, I went from a 34th round draft pick out of high school to a 14th round pick.
Wow.
But played on through the summer. We talked Jayhawk League before we came on.
Great league.
So it was El Dorado Broncos at the time. They've gone from Wichita to El Dorado back and forth. But we ended up winning the NBC World Series that year.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
In 1996, which it is. It's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
And so that, certainly didn't hurt either. I got to play kind of a pivotal role in that team. And so I think all of that the momentum just felt like the time was right to go.
Now you were going to school, but you were there to play baseball. I'm imagining.
Yeah.
I knew when I went to college and I made the team and was on, I knew football was not for me in the future. Like I knew this was going to be while I'm here in college, but I'm not going to be a football player. There's no way I'm going to make the pros. So that's got to be a totally different feeling. What was school for you? Did you have any inkling at that time of what would come after baseball or what you wanted to study or major in?
Well, oddly enough, when I was at Butler, I was pre-medicine, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I mean, at Butler County Junior College, pre-medicine, I mean, it doesn't mean a whole lot.
My associate's degree was like in general studies.
Okay. Yeah, so I was. I mean, I was kind of on a medical track, medical mindset even then.
Did you know it was dentistry though? Or
no.
No. Okay.
No, that had never even crossed my mind. If you asked me then, no, that was disgusting.
Yeah.
Dentistry? Why would I want to do that?
I love the fact that I'm big on discernment and counsel. And even at that young age, you said something that was pretty cool. When making a large decision like that, you went to your folks. Folks, Dan, that means parents in the South. I thought that's neat that you went to them for counsel. You didn't have some agent. You went to them for counsel. That conversation had to be like, man, I'm kind of in charge because I'm just assuming this. Where you grew up, there's a lot of people that get drafted that high that are going to be making more money than their parents, that are going to be this opportunity of a lifetime, but that they want to hold on to their babies. You got 3 kids, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how that conversation went. I love this kind of stuff, by the way.
Sure.
Like,
it was really pretty simple. I mean, for my folks, it was. It was not a hours long converstion. It might have been an hour long, but they had watched me do this from the time I was 5. They knew that I loved it, and I did love baseball. And they pretty much put it in my court.
Awesome.
Look, you decided you didn't want to sign, and they would have been okay, I think, if I would have, but we would have discussed it a little bit more out of high school. Right. Are you sure the timing's right here? They pretty much just left it up to me and said, look, if you think the time is right on this, go for it.
That's really cool.
So you sign, it's got to make the news back in your hometown. You do thank you. You probably makes the news in your hometown. Mm-hmm. And then you do the summer league. When do you report to spring training? Did you literally go all the way through that championship and go straight in? And where was that at?
I did. So the NBC tournament, of course, that's happening in Wichita. So that's about an hour away from where I grew up. So that tournament ends. And that's in August, really, is about what, the first part of
Right.
August when that tournament ends. And I'm supposed to report to Butler here about maybe 10 days to 2 weeks later for, day one of school.
Sophomore year, yeah.
And yeah, I'm sitting here thinking this out. The Orioles come to me then after the NBC tournament, and they're like, all right, you kind of made an initial offer when the draft happened. I don't even remember when that was, but after that tournament happened, they came back.
It's usually in June. The draft usually is in June. And so you probably were like, let me sit on it. Yeah.
Yeah. They came with the offer as soon as the tournament was over. And so then we, took a few days to talk it over and think about it. And then,
but then you were packed and gone,
then signed.
Right?
And so, yeah, so most of that minor league season had already happened then at that point. So where I went was Instructional League.
Yeah. Love Instructs.
Yeah. In Lakeland, Florida, the Orioles shared a complex with the Tigers. And so yeah, that's where I took off for in September. And it's just such a small town story that I think I'd been on an airplane once prior to
That's
this.
what I was going to ask. Like,
yeah.
Have you ever been to Baltimore before?
I've never, honestly, I say this all the time. If it wasn't for baseball, I don't know that I would have made it past like Colorado to go skiing. Really, that's what got me traveling. It's what got me out of that area. And not that I wanted to get out of it, but that was just what caused me to start traveling. So, I think that in our little town of Cottonwood Falls, there's a fair. I think I'd gotten on a little Cessna 2-seater to go up and take a lap around the town. That was my time on a plane before then.
Yeah.
And so the Orioles, they're wanting to fly me down to, I think we flew into Tampa. And so they're like, well, where's the nearest airport? I said, well, I think Topeka. So they booked me a ticket out of Topeka, Kansas. I don't even know where we connected, but from Topeka to somewhere down to Orlando. My folks drive me up to Forbes Field in Topeka, Kansas. And it's one where there's really not even a terminal. You're just parking.
Tiny little regional.
And you're walking out onto the tarmac. And of course, this is pre 9/11, obviously, but I'm going to get on this twin prop plane, and I think there's about 12 seats on it. And the thing I remember most, though, is that I get up onto this plane, and everybody's seated. There's probably 8 other people, but then they're like, hang on, folks, we've got one more person that's going to be joining you. And the next person you see walk in is a police officer, and he's leading a guy in handcuffs. And they shackle him to the seat, and he's on the plane with us as we're flying wherever. So
he's going to jail.
First real plane flight.
Yeah. Was he right next to you?
No.
Okay.
Because here's the thing about those planes, Dan. So a Cessna is even a smaller plane. The plane that he's talking about, you could literally touch. I'm serious, 12-seater.
They're small.
Yeah.
So you're in this tube with a professional baseball player and an inmate.
And some kind of criminal.
This is great. If you'd have told me they rolled them in like a mask. So you take off, you get down to your first flight, you get down to Florida.
Yeah, Tampa.
And how was that experience? And, we don't have to go day by day, but how was that experience, playing instructs? I know a little bit about this. Instructional leagues, then to A, and then your journey into and you could talk big or small on it. Your journey into Major League Baseball.
Okay. Well, so you have to help keep me on track here because there's so many side stories.
I do that well. If you got more like this inmate thing, bring them.
So I think that culture education is probably one of the biggest things. Especially when you're talking to a kid that's got 30 kids in his high school class and they all look exactly like me. They all talk exactly like me. And here I am getting on a plane going down to Tampa. There was a guy down there, Lenny Johnston, and he's kind of just the guy in Instructional League. He picks you up at the airport. If you've got a problem, you find Lenny. You're homesick, you talk to Lenny, whatever. He's kind of keeps everything rolling down there. Well, he was the guy that picks everybody up. And so I get off the plane, and I don't think that he even has signs. He's been doing this long enough. He can pick out the guys that are coming off that are, and I remember his voice too, just knew, are you Kohlmeier? And I said, yeah. He's like, come with me. It was about that welcoming too. And so he leads me to this group of guys, of which I am the only white-skinned, English-speaking guy in that group.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody else that was on that bus to go from Tampa down to Lakeland, Florida, I believe all the rest of the guys were from the Dominican.
I was going to say Dominican. And I had three roommates at one point. Mine was over in Arizona. and I had 3 roommates, and I didn't speak their language. They didn't speak. I never talked to them.
Yeah.
The whole summer.
Yeah.
The whole summer. I didn't talk to and they said their age was a lot younger, but I don't know. But I'm going to tell you something. I think that's amazing. So that had to be a culture shock. So you go down to the field with Lenny leading the way.
Yep. Yeah. He gets you to the dorms, which in Lakeland, it's kind of a college campus that they've taken over. So you've got a dorm down there that you're staying with. I still remember my first roommate down there. He was an American kid, Craig Ratliff from Kentucky. Great roommate, but yeah, just it was college, except no classroom class.
Right.
I mean, you're eating your meals in the cafeteria,
just like University of Texas. So yeah,
right, yeah, exactly. Yep. I mean, classes happening on the field. I mean, it's
now. Did y'all do the double header, or just every day play off Sunday?
We were, good. We were. I forgot about that. We were off on Sunday.
But you're a pitcher. No offense, you're still an athlete. But so you were every 4th day. He gets the joke, right?
I got you.
Okay.
I was a relief guy, and so, but I don't even think at that point. I mean, as far as the way those games are set up in instructs, you're getting your 1 to 2 to 3 innings, whether you're a reliever, whether you're a starter, whatever. If they projected you as a starter, I mean, you would start the game, but you'd throw your 3 innings,
That's right.
and then
they had you on a pitch count,
and then the relievers would come in, and so it's just controlled scrimmages all the time.
And
I don't remember if we really played double headers or if it was like one 14-inning game. I mean, it seems like they're all just kind of orchestrated. One coach talks to the others, like, how many guys do you got to throw? How many you got to throw? All right, we'll play 14 innings today. That'll get all of our pitchers in. So that was instructs. That was 2 months of that, eating 3 meals a day in the cafeteria, no car, you didn't have a vehicle down there. So you were you could take a cab over to the mall.
Dan, a cab is what they call a taxi cab. That was before they had what now they have Uber and Lyft and share rides.
It's not Uber Black?
No,
Okay.
Uber Black.
Uber Yellow.
We call that Premier now, Handsome Dan. It's Uber Premier. Go ahead.
I don't remember where we were.
So you got me. So instructs lasts for about 2 months.
Yeah, it was 2 months, and so then that ended. Instructs went really well. I pitched well, started learning more off-speed stuff, and things went better. I started learning, hey, there are sides to this plate. I can throw outside. I can throw inside. If you change speeds, that works well. Batters don't like that. Yeah, a lot of light bulbs were going off.
What's the differentiation? You look at obviously high school, college, JUCO, minor leagues, major leagues, in terms of development, in terms of what you're getting from a coaching standpoint. It's to me, the difference was incredible in terms of what you're getting from strength and conditioning, what you're getting from development and coaching and all that. Like, what did you see going?
I don't even know.
He literally just learned 4 pitches in a matter of.
Yeah. Right. I mean, but in high school, it's just, your
throw
coaches. Throw strikes. And I had great high school coaches too, but just, learning, okay, hold the ball this way. This is a 2-seam fastball versus a 4-seam fastball. I didn't throw a changeup, and to this day, I still can't throw a changeup.
So I just have a couple of more baseball questions. I'm a baseball guy. So there's 2 major questions I really thought about when I knew you were going to be our guest. And so for the public who's going to be watching this, how accurate is the movie Bull Durham?
I love Bull Durham.
Oh, who doesn't?
And I think that, obviously it's romanticized a bit, but it's pretty darn accurate.
It is, isn't it?
to what life really is like. Yeah.
And one of the lines that they say, they talk about the baseballs being different, the smell of the field being different. My friend, you've done something statistically that is just remarkable. And I know I don't know you, but I have nothing but admiration. You made it to the big leagues. And there's a very select group of people in this world, not America, in the world, that can say that. And I just think it's awesome. Please tell me about your first pitch in the major leagues.
So much adrenaline, so much nervousness, so much, and first pitch is probably a little tougher, but you remember that first day. I mean, I remember the
stuff.
drive from Rochester, New York to Baltimore with my wife, and
Camden.
the packet of meal money that was more than my check was going to be for 2 weeks just to drive down. But yeah, walking into Camden Yards, walking out on the field, looking up and seeing a city skyline. I mean, a big city skyline in the background.
People in the stands.
Yeah. And you wish when you're going through all of those things that you weren't just a dumb 20-year-old kid. I mean, that is one of the experiences that you wish you could go back and do again, because you would soak up so much more of it. I would have stood there and looked around for 3 hours as opposed to 5 minutes.
Right.
Because I just think back on all of the things that I wasn't even paying attention to at that point. And like we were talking, just all of the non-baseball stuff, all the little things. I mean, that's what you remember about all of it, but there's so much more of that you don't even think to take the time to notice
Right.
I mean, I don't know if I went and did again, if I wouldn't just go lay down in the middle of the outfield and just look, look up, look around.
But Ryan, here's the thing. I think if we all look back at our 20-year self,
sure.
I mean, your 20-year experience was amazing, but if we all did that, we probably would want to soak in more time.
Oh yeah.
Before we transition over to sleep, I thought about this question too. If I were to walk into your home, if you'd ever invite me, how long would it take me to know that you played professional baseball?
To be honest, you'd have to look around.
Yeah,
You seem like, which I just in the short time that we've been talking, you're so humble.
He is one of the most humble guys I've ever worked with. It's been pretty cool.
In the sport of baseball, you find that hard, and in the profession of dentistry, you find that hard. And so I'm really looking forward to this pivot to talking about sleep. I'm sure you always get asked the baseball questions, so thank you for indulging.
No.
This old baseball guy.
Do you have time for a story? I mean,
Heck yeah.
We were talking about stuff that's really not part of the game, the behind the scenes stuff that going into it, you don't even know is part of the deal.
Sure.
But it's kind of, and it's sad in a way that today rookie initiation is kind of frowned upon. I mean,
they don't have that.
Yeah.
We didn't have it either. We never did any of that.
It's awesome. It is. It's awesome.
So you were carrying how many bags and from the bus to the field?
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Not
I
even,
know the
it's
stories.
not even that.
Oh.
It is, I mean, there is that part of it, but so when you travel in the big leagues, and that's a whole different set of stories. But anyway, when you travel, you're going from one city to another, you're wearing a suit to the field that day. So we were, this is getting toward the end of 2000 season.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in the big leagues. I got there in late June. And so this is September now at this point. Season's kind of wrapping up. We're going from Cleveland to Minnesota. It's a travel day. And so you're dressed in this suit that, I've never had a nice suit in my life. Yeah. And I'm proud of this suit, and I wear it to the field, and I'm, hang it up in the locker, and we go out and we play that last game there in Cleveland. Come back in, and my suit's not in my locker.
Bet. It's gone.
Where'd my suit go? And why is this blue dress and this blonde wig and this purse? And why are my brown dress shoes with my brown, knee-high socks still in my locker? So that's what I'm wearing. And for the other 5 or 6 rookies, however many of us there are, that's what we.
Everybody had the same blue dress?
No, different dresses.
Different dresses.
Yeah. Different dresses. I'm sure it was whatever, Goodwill or Salvation Army.
Well,
had.
I'm going to tell you, I bet you made it look good, and you just took it. I like that. You're like, I'm just going to do it.
How long did you have to wear it for?
You wear it the whole trip, and so you walk out of the stadium there at Cleveland, and it's not like the bus parks down in the concourse. Some stadiums they do, but not in Cleveland. I'm sure that's why they picked this stadium. You've got to walk out on this, so the little cordoned off area where people are there to collect autographs. They know where the team bus is, and they know where we walk. So
family will get to say hi.
That's right. You got to make that walk through, and it's about 100 yards through all of these people to get onto the bus to take you to the airport. And so we all just kind of linked arms, said, all right, fellas,
Nice.
we're
We're
doing
just
this
doing it.
together. Heads down, wig down over your eyes, hold on to your purse, and away
Hold
we
on
go.
to your purse.
And
That's
away we
funny.
go.
Boy.
And you get on the bus and you talk about, carrying bags. We weren't carrying bags, but we went to sit down on the bus and just kind of hide there. And the veteran's like, oh no, here's a tray of drinks, start serving. And so you're walking up and down the aisles on the bus with your drinks, serving drinks to Brady Anderson, Cal Ripken Jr., Scott Erickson.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you so bad
Yeah.
about your teammates, but again, I don't want to.
Well, let me know too if I'm dragging this on. But so we go from, like I said, Cleveland. We've still got to get on the plane. So same thing happened on the plane. We go to get in our seats, and they're like, nope, up you go. Stewardesses, you get the afternoon off. And so we are serving drinks on the plane
Awesome.
as we're going up to Minneapolis. And so
I love baseball.
Then the
I love
other thing that
baseball.
normally happens when you check into a hotel in a new city is you don't go in the front entrance to the hotel. They just set up a little table at a side door. You go in. Cal Ripken Jr. is not going to grab his key from so we go in the side door. You get your key and you go right up to your room. No, we didn't do it that way
No,
in
y'all had
Minneapolis.
to go
We
to
went
the
right in the front doors, and the veterans are just kind of hanging back
Uh-huh.
at the doors, and the five or six guys in dresses. We've got to walk up to the front desk and state your name, get your key. And one of the things I remember most about that whole experience was, so there's an elevator right off the lobby. Parking garage is down below. So we get our key, we go to get on the elevator, we push the button to go up. And there was a family that had been coming up from the parking garage, mom and dad and two little kids.
Oh boy.
We were taking that elevator.
Oh,
We
yes,
weren't
you
waiting
were.
on another one. And so the mom's eyes, her arms go out. They press themselves against the back of that elevator. These six big old burly guys in dresses and wigs pile in.
I love
Not a word was spoken. You go up to the room.
I love it. I
That's
think
so
now
funny.
you've given Brandon and Avi a great idea for initiation.
I think so.
iOS.
New
I think
members.
so.
Yeah.
That's
New
right.
members. That's
members.
I think we're gonna take that. You do that any evening here in Austin, Texas. Nobody think twice. You
Yeah, it's
just-
a different day and time. Now up in
But
Emporia,
yeah.
I don't know if it'll fly.
Yeah,
Um,
been noticed
Well,
a little more.
well,
yeah, go ahead.
so I still have more questions because I'm
Go
still
for it.
kind of fascinated
Go for
here.
it.
Most memorable at bat. Who'd you pitch against? That and who'd you are most memorable? Good at bat and most memorable bad at bat.
Well, it could be
Yeah.
both.
Or yeah.
Yeah. Most memorable at bat would be my first strikeout.
Okay.
And so it was on my first day.
Mhm.
We're playing the Indians. And so this is back in the day of Jim Tomey,
Ooh.
Roberto Alomar.
Bell.
Ooh.
Albert actually was with us. He had come over to Baltimore.
I love
yeah,
Albert.
I can tell you some Albert stories too.
We'll talk off record. I love Albert.
But Manny Ramirez was on that
yeah.
team too.
Dang.
But that was my first strikeout, striking out Manny Ramirez on my first.
And that was when
my
Manny
first,
was Manny.
My first
Yeah.
outing,
First game,
first game.
first big league. And
Yeah.
what was your I'm sorry, I'm skipping
Yeah.
questions now.
It's okay.
Okay, most memorable bad at bat.
Ichiro, yeah, and
Yeah.
it was
You
just
can't
an
get him
overall
out.
bad day. You can't,
He
and
slaps it.
everybody always asks, who's the hardest hitter to get out? Is it like a Manny Ramirez? Is
Right.
it Jim Tomey? No,
Right.
I mean those home run guys. I mean they're going to strike out 3 times for every one that they
Especially
they
nowadays.
hit
But
that
yeah.
home
Yeah.
run.
Mhm.
But Ichiro, man, it's a 12 pitch at bat.
Yep.
And again, it was just a crappy day overall too, but he just fouls it off. And it's almost like he's just playing with you.
He's
He's like, I want to hit this ball this way. I'm going to wait for you to miss in here because I want to hit the ball over there.
Now who
And
was
he-
he playing for? This
Mariners.
is Seattle, right?
Yeah.
When he was
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah,
that is so
that's-
awesome.
That's the bad at bat that I remember most.
But
Just
hey,
because I
you
knew
know what?
he was just
Everybody
toying
had
with me.
everybody who pitched against Ichiro.
Ichiro,
Hall of
gosh.
Famer. He was already a Hall of Famer when he came over from a different
Yeah.
league over in Japan.
Mhm.
Slap hitter, you're right. I think he still has the record for most hits because they're going to count both leagues,
Yeah.
but also most pitched at. So he would take on more pitches than any other batter. It's a crazy statistic. So that helps your team out if you can get
Yeah.
this guy to throw 12 pitches on average to him.
on one at bat.
And I would
Yeah.
think that if you counted up the number of 10 or 12 pitch at bats that Ichiro had against pitchers, he's got to have more
He
than
does.
about any other
He,
hitter.
he's got the record. He
Yeah.
does. Yeah, that's a statistic
Yeah.
that's out
Because
there.
he would
Yeah.
just foul off pitches until he decided, all right, I'm actually going to hit this one.
How much time did you have when you got called up? Like what was that like when you got
actually
the call
getting called up?
and you're like, hey,
Tomorrow.
you're coming up. Yeah.
It is. It's a tomorrow deal.
Yep.
It's always a quick thing. Hey, there's been an injury. We've got a doubleheader tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're going to be a little short in the bullpen. So it was Rochester, New York. We just finished playing a day game. Had no idea. I had no idea.
And that's AAA or Double A?
That was AAA.
So that's for our okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
No sense it was coming.
I had none.
Yeah.
And it's funny talking to teammates. Then they're like, "How did you not know?"
Yeah.
I mean, again, just a stupid 20, whatever I was at that point.
You're in
21,
AAA.
22.
You're
You
playing.
didn't
all the
even
time.
realize you're on the short list.
I didn't.
I'm one
No.
injury away, or
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really didn't. I mean, so walk in after the game, manager, he says, "Hey, Ryan, come in." And so I go and I sit down, and even then I didn't know. I mean, and you never get called into the manager's office unless you've done something stupid. I didn't think I'd done anything stupid. I had no idea what this is about.
Or you're getting demoted.
Yeah.
You're right. That's
Right.
the time I would.
And so he just says, how'd you feel? I think I'd pitched maybe an inning earlier that day, but how'd you feel out there today? Well, I felt good. How's that slider feel? It looked all right. And I said, well, I think it's coming around. Things are feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
He didn't ask about the changeup.
no, no, that was never a question. And just said, hey, you're going to Baltimore.
Gosh, I would have
man.
cried. I would have
Yeah.
cried.
They
I
need
would've
you.
cried.
And I just sat there in shock. I'm like to play? Yeah.
Oh,
You're
man.
going to Baltimore. They need you
That's
here tomorrow.
awesome.
Here's the packet. You're going to call this guy. He's going to get you your instructions and take off. And
Your
and
next
I-
call
and I-
has
and
to
I
be
re-
to your wife.
it was.
Okay.
And she was working in the accounting department at the stadium
Oh wow.
at that point. So I got to, and she hated that job too. So it was great for her as well. She
She's
talked
like,
about
take
that all the
this
time.
job
Yeah.
and
Pretty
shove
much
it.
was the file that's on my desk.
Yeah.
Went and slammed it down on her supervisor's desk. We're going to Baltimore. But I can remember walking out of the manager's office, and like I said, my buddies knew, but I had no idea. And as I come out, I can see them, and they're looking down the hall, just huge
Oh,
smiles on their faces, and
man.
they're just like this, and they can tell by the look on my face that's what had happened. And
What's-
so just hugs.
Gosh, man.
Um,
Tears.
and,
Yeah.
and
That's
and
awesome.
it is, and
Yeah.
it's one of the coolest things because I'd have given anything for those guys to get that shot too. And so just that, I'm sure for some there is, but just no jealousy, no nothing. They're just thrilled to
They're
death,
pumped for you.
thrilled to death
Yeah.
for you to
Yeah.
get the shot. So
What's the difference in pay? Like when you make that jump?
Because you didn't hear what he just said.
I'm imagining.
Once you make the 40-man roster, he already got an envelope for his day rate was more than he would have made in 2 weeks.
that was just his travel pay.
Right.
Yeah.
that was the
Yeah. So
It's-
obviously your wife's like, yeah, I don't need this job anymore. But
Well,
it's a
your
pretty
structure,
significant.
and I apologize, I keep walking over you, Brandon.
No.
Your structured contract, if you want to get in detail with this, if you get called up, you get this amount guaranteed. The league minimum at a 40-man roster back then
was 200,000.
was 200,000.
Mhm.
So they prorate that.
So
So
as
it's
soon as
essentially
you-
a per day.
Yep.
Okay.
They know how
Yep.
much that is per day.
Yep.
One thing that I remember kind of adding up in my head when I got my first big league check, that check after taxes had been taken out was more than I would have gotten if I would have played the whole season in AAA. 2-week check was
Wow.
was
Wow.
bigger than a whole season in AAA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go a couple years later now.
Mhm.
Where was, what was the process like of deciding to, retire from baseball? You'd been in for 2-3 years in the bigs.
No, not
2000
even that much.
No.
About a season and a half.
Season
so
and a
half
half,
the season
okay.
in 2000,
Mhm.
about 3/4 of a season in 2001, back and forth between AAA and the big leagues in
Yeah.
2001.
Which is really common.
It-
For a
it
lot of
is-
people.
It is the crazy thing was 2000 was a year where just everything came together and clicked. If you look at my numbers in 2000
Excellent.
and then you look at 2001, you're like, what happened in 01? But 2000, stars aligned.
Your numbers were excellent.
I went from, so I was a closer in AAA in Rochester. So closing out games, saving games, whatever the term you want to use. But so I was the closer there. Go to Baltimore. And again, for so many guys that get called up, it's, just the perfect storm of, hey, you're doing good at the right time. Somebody gets hurt, you get an opportunity. Baltimore was also going through kind of a youth movement. They'd been paying a lot of money for a lot of years trying to keep up with the Red Sox and the Yankees. It just wasn't working. So they're like, we're going to take a different approach. They got rid of a lot of these big name, big contract guys, which gave me a shot.
And you went to more of a mid relief.
Yeah. And so you come in and you're a middle relief guy. Yep. Thank you, because I had lost my train.
It's okay.
Middle relief for about maybe 2 weeks. And things were going great. I think it was 13 outings. I could be wrong on that, but it was somewhere around there that I pitched an inning or two and didn't give up a run. And so we're in Detroit. And I remember Mike Hargrove, our manager, we're stretching in Detroit. He walks up to me. And he's a West Texas guy. Mike grew up out around Lasbuddy or Muleshoe, Texas, which is oddly enough where my wife's family is from. Yep. And so we'd kind of always kidded about that, but he kind of gave me a hard time about Kansas stuff. And so he walks up to me as we're stretching and he's like, if we get into a safe situation tonight, I think I'm going to put you out there. You think your Kansas ass can handle that? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mike. So yeah, that was whatever and so you asked, I think, what was a couple of years later, whatever, what was that transition like? But to go from closing in 2000 and doing well, I don't know if I had 10 saves or whatever, but did really well in 2000, 2001, just lost something, just a little bit. And so started the season as the closer. Things didn't go great, maybe held that role for about a month, moved to middle relief. Things still didn't go great, so went back down to AAA. A month there, came back, and then it was just a back and forth. The rest of that season, at the end of 2001, was taken off of the 40-man roster of the Orioles. Officially. So, I mean, a huge swing to go from the closer the year before to off the 40-man a year later. So the White Sox, though, claimed me, so that means they put me on their 40-man, but it doesn't mean you go to the big leagues. You're just kind of on this 40-man roster. So I was in AAA with them in Charlotte, North Carolina. And did that essentially for 3 years. So from 2002 to 2004 in AAA.
And if I could take a stab at this, because I just met you today. Charlotte's beautiful. Playing baseball is beautiful. You had mentioned that you were married. Yeah. I'm kind of doing the math. You have 3 kids. That life, I'm sure you were probably like,
it gets harder. Yeah. It gets harder.
Getting on that road and doing it, the joke is a donut and a road map, because you're on a bus all the time. You're not flying like major leagues, although AAA is good. Yeah. Thank you, Michael Jordan, for White Sox. All their under, they really hooked up the whole minor leagues. But you probably started thinking about that next step. Is that fair?
It's very fair. Yeah, very accurate. You're going on a 12-day road trip, and it's one thing. I mean, if it's just your wife, I mean, she's got her friends, they can hang out, or sometimes they'd come with you on these road trips. But when all of a sudden you're leaving your wife with your 1 or 2 year old at home, that's when it gets really hard, and you're gone for 12 days. They can't travel as easy, and it's hard to afford to travel on a minor league salary. So that added up to, that was one factor. And it would have been different if things were still going well. I mean, baseball is one of those things where you're always getting older. Everybody else is getting younger.
Hey, it's undefeated.
Yeah.
Father Time's undefeated.
He gets everybody. That's right.
So you make this awesome decision, which, again, I could tell just by the short time we met, you probably had a plan, huh? Like you were already planning it probably that year before, like, I'm probably going to retire. This is my next step.
Yeah.
And was it dentistry, or has it still didn't,
because he still hadn't finished his undergrad.
No, I know, but still you could think,
Okay. So you're right. Yeah. You kind of start planning things out, and that's funny that, it's almost like when you start planning that next step, it almost solidifies that next step. I mean, because you're still in
thinking
baseball.
About retiring, you probably should retire.
A very wise man told me once, wherever you are, be there. And as soon as you're not there all the time, you need to go to where your mind is taking you. So anyway, we started planning that out. What is that going to look like? I had done the college thing with the Orioles. They were going to pick up some of my college bills. So we had some of that money that we knew we were going to be okay for the college side of it, but how we're going to make the rest of this work. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to move back to Cottonwood Falls. We're going to buy a little cheap house there in Cottonwood Falls. I'm going to go to Emporia State University, which is 20 minutes up the road. And at that point, I was thinking pharmacy. I was still kind of, because pharmacy was still in that medical world, but it was a shorter school duration. I mean, I would go to Emporia State for 2 years and then go to pharmacy school for 4. So 6 years sounds a whole lot better than 4 years for a bachelor's, 6 years for med school or whatever was involved there. But dentistry still wasn't even, I hadn't even considered that. So pharmacy was what I started off as when I went back. That lasted about 4 months, I think, when I was there. And when I really started researching just the profession of being a pharmacist, I'm like, man, that is going to bore me to death. I don't think I can do that for the rest of my life. So I thought, well, I feel like God's telling me, medicine is what it is. It's a longer road, but if it's what I'm supposed to do, it's what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. So I transitioned over to that. That was, again, maybe a year's worth of my classes.
And what year are we up to right now?
This is, so 2004 is when I retired. So this is 04, 05. Went to my dentist that I'd grown up going to, Dr. Gary Ace in Emporia. And we were talking about my plans, and he was just like, medicine? You're gonna do medicine? Look at all the problems that medicine has, and just starts laying them out. And he's like, you need to be a dentist. I mean, look at all the advantages, and heck, I'm getting older. I need somebody to take over this practice. And like we talked about, I just remember thinking, no way, that is gross. I do not want to do dentistry. But the way things work out, went home and just kind of started thinking about things. And I'm sure it was about a month later, started talking things over with my wife. What do I really want to do? Is medicine really right? And then started looking at dental school, oddly enough. And the stars aligned, and
that's crazy.
And away we went. They had a reserved admission program. So I was able to get a spot locked in at UMKC. University of Missouri, Kansas City. There's not an in-state dental school in Kansas, so you got to go over to Missouri.
Right across the border there. We were down in Joplin for a while, and so we had a lot of the dentists come down during their 3rd and 4th year and work in our clinics.
Sure.
From UMKC, so pretty good little program there. So when'd you go to UMKC? What were the years you were there?
From 07 through 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I just think it's amazing. If I could jump in, again, I'm doing the math. Sometimes we joke a lot because I'm single and Brandon's dating right now, and we both are horrible at being married. But I think it's, I think it's awesome that you've set a constant this whole time, even when you got drafted. And it just sounds like it would be remiss if we didn't highlight that your spouse, your wife, has been with you through all these moves and supported, and I'm sure you support each other. How was that final move to dentist school? Because it's almost like you see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train. You're like, I got this. How was that move away from the small town, going back to school? How was that? And her support.
Well, and also being one of the probably oldest kids in class. Or maybe.
Yeah. Dental school is funny because you'll get, guys that have tried engineering and they didn't like that. They tried this profession or this profession. So yeah, it was one of the older ones for sure. But when you say my wife has been with me through all of these things, you have no idea really what you're even saying, because she's amazing.
Awesome.
You were talking about, did you say your son or your daughter, somebody was chasing them?
Yeah, my daughter.
Yeah. So my wife started chasing me around the playground. She was a 1st grader. I was a 2nd grader. So we truly have been through, almost our entire lives together.
Wow.
So, we've known each other since we were little bitty kids. We started doing the boyfriend, girlfriend thing in middle school, dated almost consistently through high school. We're married after that first complete season of A-ball. So I've got 1 year of pro ball under my belt. We got married. So she's been through all of these things with me. And so honestly, going from baseball to dentistry was probably one of the calmer things that I've put her through.
Reminds me of that dang George Strait song, Check Yes or No. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys have been together
Mm-hmm.
for so long. I mean, that's just awesome. So I think it's important that we say that. Like, it's a team approach.
Sure.
Your whole life has been a team approach, brother. Think about it. That had to be so weird. You literally leave high school. You're part of a team. You jump into a team. You have different teammates. Like you said, you would have been just as happy for them to get drafted. And then you leave and you come home to your other team. But that had to be for the first time in how many years of your life were you not on a baseball team?
Yeah.
And you wake up one morning, I've been there, and you're like, oh, this is weird. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not part of a team, even though you're married and you have that team. How was that transition as well? Like now you're like, whoa.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, and I think we've all got our own teams.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing. I mean, we're going to talk sleep here in a little bit, and I mean, you've got your sleep team. I mean, iOS and your coaches and mentors there with that.
Right.
Within dentistry, you've got that. But yeah, the teams that you have in things like sports,
Minus the dress and wig. Go ahead.
minus the dress and the wig, right? You know, I didn't serve in the military. I'm so thankful for all the guys, all the people that do, men and women that do. But that is also, I mean, you think about teams and bonds that are formed there. I think that for me, I can see some of what they talk about, and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of that within sports.
Absolutely.
I mean, you form bonds with what you go through and stuff like that you just don't get anywhere else. But yeah, to have my wife go through that, just all of those. I mean, she was around when I got drafted. She was around the first time, I mean, in high school, and then around when it happened again. And then that road through all of the apartments, all of the, all the moves. I mean, she's counted up. She could tell you exactly, much better than I could, where we moved to, how long it took. Like 24, times, 24, 30 times. She's counted them all up. But yeah, the team approach is, you can't do it without your team.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Well, and I think that, I always talk about the team approach in dentistry as well, because when we're taking care of patients day in and day out, it's the team that makes the difference in how that office flows. And so, that's important to have that team as well.
Agree.
And for sure, when you start getting into sleep, we talk about having the different teams between the dental teams and the sleep teams.
Amen.
So,
I mean,
it's a huge deal.
So you've been drilling and filling and cleaning teeth and doing all that before you ever thought about this sleep thing. Is that correct?
correct.
So how many years have you been a dentist?
10.
Okay. So
Just
10
over 10
years.
years. 2011 is when I
Okay.
left dental school.
And you met this guy when? Let's just get into this. I love this. When you decided you wanted to do sleep. Well, or was that decision made obviously before you met Brandon, but what happened?
So when you start talking about sleep apnea, I think there's a lot of things that put it on your radar, but it was something that I was starting to notice in myself. I'm not sleeping as well as I had been. My wife's saying, I'm having to elbow you a lot more often, and I'm starting to notice myself, why am I waking up at night? And then there's some noise that's happening in this room that's waking me up. What is that? But you don't have to look in people's mouths very long or get people in your chair to start to see, man, how do you feel? And I mean, you're just seeing so many signs. I mean, everybody's on a high blood pressure medication. Half your patients have AFib. You're trying to look in the back of the throat and you can't even see anything because that tongue's there. Their teeth are all just worn flat. And I mean, you just look at them and talk to them and just tired look. And so I was seeing that in my patients, and I would try to kind of bring some of this up, but without really the basis, even close to the base that I've got now with iOS. And so it was just kind of a half-hearted effort to treat some of these folks initially. But the business of doing sleep as a dentist, that's where it just doesn't work to try to take a sleep model and handle that with dental billing and a dental approach. I mean, it just doesn't work.
It's hard.
And so I started to try to do that. So try to treat two to three patients, let's say over the course of about a year or two. And just said, you know what, this just doesn't work and it's taken time away. I've got to just get back to dentistry. But it just kept coming up and coming up. And, I honestly believe that, God just kept that on my mind that, hey, this sleep thing, you notice this in this person. Okay. You notice this in this person. You need to find a way to do this. And then one day an advertisement came along that was more, tailored exactly to what I think a lot of dentists experience. Hey, are you noticing that your patients are struggling with sleep, and you've tried to treat them, but it doesn't work because of the business obstacles? I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I'm running into. So what is this all about? And so that's then how Brandon and I met. I'm headed down to Orlando for an introductory seminar to
this
to
Orlando
iOS.
is like a theme to new beginnings. This is pretty cool. So you got recruited by them and they drafted you. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
So go down to Orlando.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we do an introductory course, once a month. And the goal is to just show dentists how we do it and how our system can hopefully help them in taking care of more patients. And, obviously it's a sales meeting. We're there to recruit. We're there to find dentists that really want to do this and make a difference, because we're not looking for people that just want to dabble. We want people that really want to make an impact and have, and make this a serious part of what they do.
Right.
And I think Ryan was one of those people. He was just like, I'm seeing it, I'm trying it. It's not working. I have the patience, but where do we go from here? And we pretty much, the second we started talking to him, we're like, he's going to do well. We just got to get him, what he needs. And I think that's the case.
And what year was that?
This was just,
Was it? I think it was 09.
No, not 09.
19?
Or excuse me, 19, not 09.
Yeah.
Right. 19.
It was kind of right before, right before COVID, because he was and that kind of threw a wrench in things too.
We don't have COVID down here in Texas.
Texas.
It's funny. It's not in Emporia.
Not in Emporia either.
No.
Yeah. So it takes a while to build a business. If you've ever started a business or a dental practice, even, did you end up buying your old dentist practice?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
did.
So you went back, took over his practice, but even then there's this kind of transition. And if you start a practice, it's a year before you get enough stuff going. And it's kind of the same way in sleep business. It's a good 6-8 months of kind of building it up. And remember, you're still practicing dentistry. You still have your main business. So it's not like you have all your time to devote to it.
Right.
And that's one of the hard things about it. And so he's just kind of getting to where, and then COVID hits, and then we're shutting down, and then we're dealing with that, and then we're trying to ramp back up. And so I know that kind of threw a wrench in things, but you've been persistent through it all.
Yeah, COVID slowed things down for sure. You go from, you said, just being totally on board, totally on track with all that to, all right, now what do I even do for dentistry? Because this is what's paying the bills, and my hygiene department's shut down. What do we got to do for PPE stuff? How do I get these supplies? And so it certainly did slow it down, but we're back on track. Just trying to get on board with physicians and kind of educate them on what we're doing, and let them know that CPAP's not the only thing out there.
Yeah. What's been the biggest challenge for you in that realm of working with the physicians?
Honestly, I think the biggest part of it is me and just the time that takes and how busy my dental practice is. You go into this and you're like, yep, I've got Friday afternoons off. We work a short day on Tuesdays, so that's going to give me time to do this. But there's so much that goes in that's already part of those supposedly off times. And so just carving that time out is a big issue. But in dealing with physicians, there is certainly a hesitancy to go with an oral appliance, because so many of them have just been prescribing CPAPs for their whole career. And we've got physicians in Emporia that, that's what they're doing. So
it's just what they're used to.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the gold standards. It's teaching them. You got to really educate them on the options.
Yeah, I think one of the things us three have in common is we're passionate about our careers and definitely about sleep. one of the things, Brandon and I's relationship has grown over this last year, not only with this podcast, but his business model. His business model, I've said this on this show before on our podcast. It's just an amazing model. The states that I cover, it's just incredible.
I agree.
Also getting to meet Avi, which will probably be the episode before this airs, and kind of learning the system. I think iOS is an amazing opportunity for dentists wanting to get into sleep, and just those steps that you have to take. And me being involved now with Brandon a little bit with iOS, that seems to be the theme. It's about that time. And that this misconception, we are on such a beautiful timeline right now where, unfortunately, with the CPAP recall of Philips and little towns like yours that probably don't register high for a ResMed or a Philips to get more CPAPs down there. My whole thing and my company, SomnoMed, with our medical initiative, is our goal is to go in there and say anybody with a 30 AHI or below on an HST or, God forbid, an in-lab, they need to go to a sleep dentist and they need to see you. And we need to be helpful in doing that. And I think as the landscape, even my competition, right? If all of us are working towards that goal, because what Brandon has shown me is that all of us are fighting for these little bitty scraps here.
Yeah.
When the true thing is, for even my company, that's an oral device company, we need to go with the ResMed and Philips, and then even all those apneic patients out there. And how are we doing that? Brandon's a great example of the cardiology space, of the ENT space, all that. But even those general practitioners and getting them to understand, forgive me for saying it like this, but with the person with your reputation, being a hometown hero who got drafted, who came back home, I don't have your state. Oh my gosh.
He's putting in for
I might,
You
I
can't
might,
move.
Lewis,
Yeah.
I might take care. I just, for me personally, I could just see you almost being too busy with sleep. And that's just the truth. When there is that, and I love, because I've heard Brandon talk and coach, and Max also. I've been fortunate enough to sit through their coaching and stuff, and working with also their dentist. We can motivate you and do all that, but you're right. It's about time.
Yeah. Well, it's time and persistence. And I think that's, at the end of the day, and that's the thing we always talk about in iOS is we can tell you what to do. We can give you the system. We can give you the support.
Yep.
But you still got to go out and do it.
Yeah.
And I know you've made a lot of inroads. I mean, it's not like you haven't done anything. And I think you're helping a lot of patients now. So before, where you were seeing these patients and you kind of didn't know what to do or how to do it, what are you seeing now in the patients that you're actually treating?
Successful cases,
Yeah.
honestly.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
You said something a little bit ago that I think is a big part in all this too. When you talked about the way that his company is structured, we were talking about team. You do a great job of that. I mean, the meetings that you have, the accountability that is within your, anytime that I leave listening to you or Max or Avi talk about that, I'm like, man, we need more of that, because it also, I mean, it makes everybody's job easier when you've got that team approach.
Absolutely.
And, as a dentist, I mean, I think dentistry's got to be, I'm sure there are bad ones out there, but I just look at dentistry and we're terrible about doing everything ourselves.
Control freaks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a bottleneck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. We end up
limits.
stepping over ourselves. We're bumping into ourselves all day long.
Yeah. I mean, it's a leap of faith. I think when working with dentists and iOS are out, and I'm trying to pump them up saying, you need a marketing person. I mean, I can do this for you once a month for a day or two, right? I'm only one person, but have that leap of faith to do that. And it's funny because you can have as much passion, and I like what you said, you can draw a map out, but unless someone's going to, travel that map. But at the same time, I want to hear about these successes. Man, this is awesome. So you've been able to put people in oral devices and see already like the difference. And tell me about that. That's got to be awesome.
It is. And I think that,
because we're just in 2021. I mean, you came in 19, COVID was 20.
Yeah. No, patients, I think that your patients come to you as a dentist because they trust you, probably more so than a patient goes to a doctor. And so to hear you hear that. I don't know if you get that a lot of times. They're like, man, I can move to a new town and I can go find a new doctor, but boy, I don't want to go find a new dentist. I mean, can I come back to you?
Yeah. Or I go off personal experience. I will put off going to the doctor if I got a pain or whatever. As soon as my tooth hurts, I'm limping for whatever reason, but I'm going to the dentist. I don't care what it costs. I don't care who I'm going to see my dentist. I need to get this fixed.
Yeah.
That's a sense of urgency that I try to tell people with breathing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that trust factor helps. Obviously you've got to be careful not to abuse that, but your patients, I think, as a dentist, they listen to their dentist and they appreciate that. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, you're telling me that I might have a higher heart attack risk or stroke risk because of this thing that you can see in my mouth? And yes, I am. We're going to work with some doctors on this and we need to get you tested, but I certainly am seeing the signs. So let's do this. Let's get you referred over to a doctor. Let's get this tested for and see what's going on. And,
and that's the key thing too. He said, we're going to work with doctors. This is a collaborative effort. Like you have to have a team of physicians. There's no one person out there. It's just like Dr. Wilson said the other day, that can just do it all themselves.
Right.
So it's again, going back to kind of that team approach. So, well, I really think I'm pumped about what you're doing there for your patients, because I know there's lots of patients that need it. And I'm excited for what's going to continue to happen in your community and with the physicians there as well. Personally, thinking back, I'm kind of curious because, we've talked to musicians and we've talked to different people and, how important sleep is personally. Did you realize how important sleep was when you were playing, back in your sports days? I hear like LeBron is like religious about
LeBron. Who's LeBron?
LeBron.
Oh, sorry.
That one guy
that does the workout commercial.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw him the other day.
But you hear about some of these athletes nowadays. I think they know how important sleep is. They're like religious about LeBron's like 10 hours a night, religious. Nothing gets in the way.
Sleep in a hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah, all these other types of things. But, was that level of awareness back with rehab and injuries and, all that when you were playing?
I would say no.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember any emphasis on sleep when I was playing. And it's crazy. I mean, now knowing what I know to think, how different would things have been? How different would I have felt if I was focused on that? And it's funny that you asked, because that going off on the road to play baseball, that was one of the first times that I ever struggled to sleep. And so it was trying to figure out, why am I struggling to sleep? It was just the being in a strange bed on the road. Did I eat a big meal at 11 o'clock in a course? I mean, you're doing that all the time, when, especially in the I shouldn't even say in the minor leagues. I mean, you're essentially a night shift worker if you're a baseball player. You're eating a huge meal at midnight, and then, maybe trying to get to bed at 2 a.m, maybe have a beer or two. So yeah, that was one of the first times that I really did start to struggle with just getting to sleep. And now I think it just cements to me, one of the things I talk a lot about with my sleep patients is, what's your routine like at night? What are you doing to get ready for bed? Well, what do you mean? I brush my teeth and I get on my phone and I answer some emails and so you struggle to sleep though? They're like, yeah, I do. Well, we need to think about what we're doing to get ready for sleep too. No caffeine, put the phone down, go through something that's going to help you wind down. Don't answer any emails, get that done. So that,
and I find that drinking a bottle of wine a night is not good advice.
Not helpful.
No?
Yeah, no.
I'm going to have to.
So I want to go back to what you said. So your wife started elbowing you. You started noticing in yourself. Because you talked about sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Talk about your journey from that point. Did you get tested?
Yeah. And just getting into this, I want to try everything. I mean, any appliance that I've put a patient in, I've got those appliances. Any test that I know my patients are going to be taking, I wanted to take that test. So I'm a mild sleep apnea guy. I think my HIs have consistently come back at about 8 or 9.
Okay.
But it's something that at this point, I think just being more conscious of that routine.
Yeah.
When I first got tested, I think I was probably about 15 to 20 pounds heavier than I am right now. So that's played a role
So like
in
Brandon
helping
weight,
to
like
bring that down. Right. Yeah. More. Yeah. Your weight now, right? No, not even close. But that, yeah.
See, I do that a lot.
routine,
That's
and
called the
you
chicken
got-
exit.
Yes.
What about the appliances?
Sure.
What I love what Brandon does, and not only for my company, but for other companies, is he gets it.
I'm really sensitive about my weight right now, by the way.
Are you really?
Are
you really?
I've gained like 5 pounds in the last 2 weeks.
That's it? The camera
look
adds
heavier?
way more weight. He's really
Yeah.
skinny.
I'm
Okay. But what Brandon does very well is
Going on a diet.
he gets the devices, and he's taught me. I just got into this industry, but he actually gets them fitted on himself.
Mhm.
And that, I love that. And so every dentist that I call on, I say, try this, even my competitors. I want you to put it on, because I've done my own, right?
Yeah.
You know, when I sold CPAPs, I wore CPAP. Do you do the same thing?
Sure. Yeah. Like I
That's
said,
awesome.
every appliance that
Yeah.
I think
I think you
I've
have
got-
to.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got
And you
4 or
could
5
speak
that
to
I
that. Yep.
consistently will prescribe to my patients.
Yep.
And so, I've worn them all. I know what they're going to like, what they're not
Yep.
going to like, the pros and the cons about
Yep.
them.
I've tried like literally 27.
And Brandon
Different-
tries everything, and I'm being
Yeah.
serious. Like
I'll
that's what
try
I
anything
respect
once.
about it. That's what I respect about it. On a serious note,
Yeah.
even new gadgets that we're going to be talking about in future podcasts, which I'm very excited about. Don't want to give anything away. Brandon will call me and say, "Hey, I want to have this person on. I'm trying this out," but I think that's important. Where you're at right now in your sleep business, and this is probably a Brandon and Avi question. Do you have the goal of what you would like to see your sleep business look like at the end of 2022? For example, I'm working with someone right now. They're currently doing 5 to 10 cases a month. Their goal is to get to 30 cases a month by the end of 2022. Is that something how you think, or do you just think general? Just want to treat sleep. I want to hire an associate, or are there some specific goals that you have?
Well, I would say I'm pretty general in my goals right now, because honestly, one of the things that we're talking about time and just how much time dentistry takes and how that does kind of take away from sleep. And I love my dental practice. I do love treating my dental patients too. But on the other hand, I love sleep and I want that to get bigger. And so there has to be some compromise there.
Sure.
And so I'm a solo practitioner,
Okay.
and we're in a busy practice, and we can sure grow. And I mean, we have to we're turning a lot of new patients away, honestly, right now. And I don't like doing that. And so you're right. An associate is something that on the dental side that is going to help me do a little bit more, and hopefully not a little bit more, but do more on the sleep side of things.
And I love analogies. So think about it this way, right? When you came out of high school, you had a hell of a fastball. Then you got to college, you got a little bit better, right? You got the pros, you learned how to throw the curveball, the changeup, hit the corners.
No change up.
That's where you're at right
No
now.
change up.
But that's where you're at right now.
Yeah.
And I think with the great leadership that you have, that's going to have to be, you're going to have to make that determination in your business model.
Yeah.
Well, he may not have the goal solidified, but I have the goal solidified for him.
There you go.
When anybody anywhere in a 100-mile radius of Emporia, Kansas, says the word sleep or sleep apnea or snoring, the first name that's going to come to mind is Dr. Kohlmeier.
There you go.
That's my goal.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're on your way.
No, and I believe that too. Emporia there's a lot of potential in Emporia, but and that's why we named our company Kansas Sleep Solutions. It's not Emporia Sleep Solutions. I mean, I want it to be.
And you can expand from there. And,
Sure.
if you're a young dentist and
Right.
you want to and you're looking for a good associateship or a good position, I'm telling you, small towns, they're, so, I mean, maybe, and obviously we'll have links to your information.
Yeah,
and stuff
that's what
like
I was going
that,
to say.
but-
We'll have that on our
But if
YouTube
you're a
and
young
social media.
dentist that's watching this and you're like, oh, I'd like to go somewhere and make a difference and have a good position, not work in corporate dentistry and stuff like that. You got to move to Emporia, but I'm telling you, these small towns are good positions for young dentists.
You know what? I think, Brandon, we've done a good job of interviewing so far that I'm going to go ahead and ask a question of them, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Could we get a jersey? We should get a jersey hung up here.
You
don't
have
have to
any old
sign it.
jerseys?
I'm already going to have you sign the around.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get a jersey with your last name. It's going to be bent on the back, and we're going to put it up here. We got to.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I'm asking you. Is that okay?
If he'll give one up.
Well, no, I'll go buy one. You don't have to give up one of your Real jersey? No, he's probably already got him behind.
Can you eBay get, like? Is there Kohlmeier jerseys on eBay that we can find?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you,
we'll dig one up.
and
Handsome Dan, you need to find a Kohlmeier
and
Kohlmeier jersey.
I think that would be awesome. Now, do we want to do Baltimore or do we go for the triple? We need to do his first big league. Yeah,
yeah, Baltimore. You got to do Baltimore.
Yeah, man. I think that'd be a good addition. HD, what you think? Oh, he's on. He's
shopping already.
No, he's on dating sites. I bust him all the time.
No, we've been live on a few different platforms.
Oh, we have been.
Oh, nice,
Okay.
nice,
Oh,
awesome.
you can do that on dating sites?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Awesome.
over all over the place.
But no, I think I would love to do that. Was that okay? Would that embarrass you because you're at home? I would love to have
I'd
your
be honored.
jersey up here, but
I'd be
we'll
honored.
buy
Thank
it. We'll put it up. But I think working with Brandon, number one, I think y'all two personalities are just going to blow it out of the water. But having you take the time to come down to Austin, Texas, to spend with us is just. It's just been a joy, especially talking baseball stories. And whenever we get off air, I have a couple questions I got to ask you about a couple people you played baseball with.
So we are running up on the clock. So
Yep.
unfortunately, we're gonna have to sign off here in a minute. But I want to echo Matthew's sentiment. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Every time I talk to you, I get really excited. But for you to come down and hang out with us has been really cool. Really do appreciate it. And thanks for sharing all your stories with us. And,
You're welcome. I
you
wish
know,
I was a better
learned
storyteller.
more. I
'cause
learned
they're-
more about you even now than I knew before.
I know the blue dress, the wig.
I want to see pictures of that.
I do want to say something before we get out of here. You got to go to our page, guys. Subscribe to it. Make sure you like this. Hit the alert. Am I saying that right, HD? But we got to end the episode, unfortunately. Do the things, yeah. But we got to end it. So can I call you Ryan, Dr. Kohlmeier?
Yeah. Call
Ryan?
me Matthew.
And this is delicious
almost empty.
coffee. Thank you for sleeping around with Dr. Brandon and Matthew, my friend.
Oh, my
It's a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
'Cause when the sun goes down and the moon is high, we'll be chasing stars till the morning light. Come on, fly with me.